All right, guys. Good morning. Morning. This is Charles with the Exodus Logistics Learning Center, America's #1 dispatcher and freight broker training. Today is Sunday, the 23rd of February. Starts our fourth week of training. Every second and fourth week, we have live Zoom calls to go over answering questions, basic concepts. So today is the 23rd at 11 a.m. I'm broadcasting from my car wash office, so if you hear some noise in the background, don't mind those guys. But I'll do some basic Q&A since we have just beginner level students who are tuning in right now to kind of see if there's any preliminary questions you would want to have answered. And I know that Wiseline, she probably has some questions. But yeah. So what do you have for me? Hey, good morning, LaDonna. I just made you the co-host. So what's going on with the process, guys? Let me know where you are in your process. Hey, Shiante, I see. Jasmine, Lexi. Good morning. Good morning. Another person come in as iPhone. I changed your name to Wiseline from iPhone to Wiseline. The second person, I don't know who that is iPhone. I'll have to ask them. iPhone, the person who just came in as iPhone. What is your name? I can change it to your name so I can identify you respectfully, if you don't mind.
Angie?
Angie?
Yes.
Okay, are you a student here? Or?
Yes, this is Eric's mom, Angie King.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah, well, how's Eric doing?
He is doing fine. He is doing good. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Oh, he did just recently he has everything. He got his hazmats now. So he doing it.
Okay. I may have to come to Ohio and see you guys. Come on in.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Well, we all good, but thanks for asking.
yep. So give me 1 second, guys. I'm letting my guy know what he needs to do. Just do the regular stuff. Just check and see what needs to be done. Okay. And then go from there. Okay, the top. There you go. All right. All right. Okay, so that's good. That's nice. I have to get to Ohio, to the Beaver Creek, Dayton area. You guys will come down again like you did before.
Yes, we will.
Bring your husband, though. Bring that character you call a husband.
That's my dad.
Oh, you're the daughter. I thought that was
I'm the daughter. Johnny
okay.
is my mom.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Okay. I get the two confused.
Yes, no, that's no problem. But yes, I will bring him.
So you're okay. So you're okay. You're ex-mom. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, you're the dispatcher.
Yes, he's been keeping me busy on that back end, doing everything and cleaning up some things and tightening up some things. So we've been busy.
So do you guys have a trailer yet, or you just doing still power only?
Still the power only. We just got his truck refinanced, so we got that lower. So now we about to, once we get this started, we'll be able to purchase a trailer. Yes.
Oh yeah, we got to get you out of that.
Yes. But we getting there. We had to do some things, but it was just like I said, when he bought his truck, it was on like it wouldn't show up as on the credit. It was bought it like in-house financing. So only time it would show up if he defaulted on that loan. Correct. So now since we got it, with the bank and finishing out paying and just getting it refinanced. So now we about to start moving. So the wheels is gonna turn some more.
So are you doing what load board are you using?
He's been using he used the 123. He still gets some from Snyder. So he's been moving around quite a bit. And then he got a couple of them that he got what FedEx wound up calling him for a couple of them directly to do something for them. So it's been kind of the end of last year. So the end of last year going. So right now, he kind of slow, but that's just to be expected. Correct. But we've been doing, so far, good.
So I'm glad you're here because you can give the newer dispatchers kind of a perspective of what the market is doing right now coming
Yeah.
in, getting new carriers, you can say, okay, well, this is what you're going to, you got a power unit, so you don't have a trailer, so you're only
No.
doing, I'm assuming you're doing you doing preloaded trailers or live loads or
Yeah,
live
we do.
loads.
He does a lot of preloaded trailers. Every now and then he do get the live loads and stuff like that. So pretty much it's been them preloaded trailers.
Okay, so
Yeah.
um, so if the new dispatchers who are listening to here now, if you get a truck driver or an owner operator, a carrier who wants you to be their dispatcher, that's a power only. That's what Angie and the family are. They're power only right now because power only means they don't have a trailer. They
Hmm.
just have the tractor. So you can still get loads, obviously, because Angie's can attest to that right now with a
Yes.
carrier with a tractor without a trailer. You can still get loads.
Yes.
The types of loads are like dropping hooks, preloaded trailers, loadouts, towaways, things like that. And also, if you live near what's called a port, you can do port work. You can pick up containers. You can grab a chassis from the chassis pool, or if you own a chassis or your carrier owns a chassis, then you can dispatch them in the ports. Now, there are certain requirements that you need to have, or the carrier needs to have, unless they're running under someone else's UIIA or SCAC. But the driver needs to have a TWIC card and things like that to access the ports. But but yeah, you can. There is dispatch work for carriers with just power units without a trailer, right? Which is, let's go to module 1 to give you guys a perspective. But this is I'm talking to the newer individuals who just came in to kind of understand equipment types, right? Now we mainly train on the 3 major equipment types. Those are the ones who have trailers. They have tractors and trailers. The tractor, drive and trailer here in this example, the tractor and a reefer trailer in this example, and then the tractor and the flatbed trailer in that example. But Miss King and her family, they have a power, which is a specialty, a power only, right here. And let me enlarge this a little bit, the screen, and so you guys can see that right there, power only. There are loads for power only uh, equipment types, right? Or tractors. And let's open up another tab to kind of give you an idea of that as well. And let's go back to so if you're on a load board, let's say for example, you have a carrier who just has a power only unit, just a tractor, no trailer, right? So you would go to, and you want to find them some loads, and they're willing to run in a certain area that's conducive to power only loads, right? Which is pretty much just about everywhere, um, depending on the situation, preloads, ports, whatever, right? So um, it's just, again, like Angie said, the market is down, right? And you're seeing that firsthand, correct, Angie?
Yes.
Okay. As far as the numbers, like the weekly numbers, like maybe several months ago, a power only carrier, depending on the types of job they were doing, maybe making 5 to 7 a week, maybe 8.
Yes.
So now
Yes.
it's
Right now with him, since I said what is this, January? In January he was pulling about anywhere to be like for a week, about 35, 4,000 a week. So he took a lump, a drop.
a significant drop.
Yeah, a significant drop. And then it was like that was like the first 2 weeks of January. Then after that, it went back to like the 5,000, and then like right now he's pulling in about 556. But that's just what I believe is just some of the ones that he's been using. They know how he runs, and that plays a factor too because they like that he communicate. They like that he's early on time. If he's stuck in traffic, he's already talking to them. He let them see his ELD, log into that to say, hey, he got proof backing him up saying, hey, I'm stuck in traffic. I'll be there within 15 minutes or
So
20 minutes or whatever.
he's the type of carrier that you new dispatchers who are listening would love to have because he communicates, he has an open line of communication. He lets the broker know or the direct customer, depending on the relationship, know that there's going to be a delay in the delivery of this shipment because of this, this, and this. And he's transparent when doing that. So he's not deceptive or deceiving with the broker or the direct customer, which is those are the types of carriers you would love to have. You don't want somebody who's trying to be slick all the time and trying to get around their logs and trying to get around their hours just to try to make an extra penny, because in the end, it's going to come back and bite you. Now, my question to you guys, well, to you, Angie, because you're seeing it every day, you're dispatching. Why do you think that is? Why in January the numbers were lower, but now they're coming around? What's affecting that? What do you think as a dispatcher?
As a dispatcher, I mean the economy.
Okay.
That's one of the biggest ones. Well, the gas price has been steadily for him where he gets his gas, so that was a factor. It's just been a major things like, if they want that shipment to move, they go ahead and move it. It's just been a lot of things. It can be any little thing. Well, if they trying to get it the cheapest, no, I'm fighting. I'm really fighting. My typical lowest is no more than probably about 220 a mile, and that's really dependent on where he going, because I have to calculate that gas. Now, some of them I may be like, okay, I get it, 215. That's about a nickel as far as I let him go down. Period. I'm not letting him go no lower than a 215. But and I have to fight for that.
So
Literally
that's your
fight.
bottom line. Now, what Angie is saying, you dispatchers, unless you decide to do this for your carriers, you are really not responsible for that unless you take on that task, but you would charge for that as far as handling their back office day to day, their expenses, their invoicing, things like that. That's what Angie is doing because it's the family's company. It's a trucking company, and she's dispatching for the family's company internally. But we are independent dispatchers. So if you decide to do that added service, then and you want to know that to make yourself more, I guess, marketable
Mm-hmm.
to the carriers, then you would want to understand what the numbers are. So let me share my screen because I like to show by example uh, that. So and give a scenario, right? So if you decide to take on that task of doing that, so let's go down here. You guys, everybody see my whiteboard?
Yes.
Okay. So what Angie is saying is so as a trucking company, you gotta know your bottom line. Well, you better know your bottom line. Otherwise, you're going to be upside down. And what does upside down mean? Most of you guys know what upside down mean in the business world. You're taking a loss, right? You are in the red instead of the black in layman's terms, right? So, um, in trucking, again, this is for you guys who are in this training. You are independent freight dispatchers. Your main focus is to understand and learn how to find freight cargo loads for your carriers. That's how you primarily make your money, booking loads with the brokers and invoicing your carriers after they deliver. That's the high level definition of what you literally do. Now, if you decide to add more to that, more services to that, and some of you may, especially if you're good in numbers and things like that, and you're good at people skills and doing books and stuff like that, then you can add an extra service and actually charge for it. So if you do that, if you decide to do that, then you would need to understand the difference from your carrier's perspective between fixed costs and variable costs. These are under the line items called expenses, right, Angie?
Yes, sir.
So I'm drawing with let me erase this. I'm drawing with my cursor, but I don't, I'm in my car wash's office. I'm not in my main office. I don't have my stylus pen, but that's fine. Uh, so you have fixed and variable. So now what's the difference? What's a fixed cost and what's the definition or what's an example of a fixed cost in from a trucking perspective, a trucking company's perspective? What's a fixed? Well, I'll say this. I'll give some examples and you tell me whether it's fixed or variable. Um, let's say the trucking company, they just got their truck. they're making truck payments on the truck. Is that a fixed or variable cost? Anyone? Your guy you're dispatching
Fixed.
for.
It's a
It can be
fixed
fixed.
Okay, and why do you say fixed?
because it's the same every month, basically.
Exactly. That's it. Yeah, that's not hard, right? Yeah, I don't want to see like I'm trying to trick you guys. Truck payments. That's a fixed cost. Now I'm gonna trick you with one coming up pretty soon. But so truck payments, trailer payments. If you make, cause you make trailer payments too. If you're buying a trailer, like if Angela or Angie and the family company, they decide to buy a trailer, not outright buy it, but let's say they go to either Ritchie Brothers auction and purchase it, or maybe finance it. Now you got trailer payments, right? Now I wouldn't suggest that because if you're still making truck payments,
Right.
you're just ballooning your expenses right now.
Yes.
So, but but yes, so that's a fixed cost because it's something you have to pay consistently on a monthly basis, right? What's an example of a variable cost? You may think.
Fuel.
Yep. Here.
Okay. And why is that?
Because it goes up and down.
It goes
Depends.
up and down. But let me throw a caveat in here. Fuel goes up and down, but can it be fixed in the sense that you always need fuel? Think about that. Again,
Yeah,
I don't want to
so
trick,
Yeah.
I
you
don't want to
set a
trick you guys.
budget.
But
You
yeah.
set a budget. You set a fuel budget,
Right.
and you just calculate that budget as a fixed cost.
So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna make it easier for you guys. Fuel is both. Fuel is a fixed and a variable cost because of that reason. It fluctuates, but you always need it in order to run the truck. So it's fixed because the truck can't move without fuel. But the price of fuel fluctuates according to like economy, tariff, whatever's going on in that time. So it can be both. Well, it can't not be both. It is both, right? So, but if you decide to add these types of services as an independent freight dispatcher for your truck driver, your owner operator, or your carrier, if they have multiple trucks, then you would want to come into the understanding of how that's done. Now we're talking about fuel, we're talking about costs, fixed and variable costs, which is under the line item of expenses, right? But what about your income? So your income or what you're bringing in, of course, obviously you want your income to outweigh your expenses because that's how you profit, right, Angie?
Yes.
And
That's true.
that's
Yep.
basic math, right? So
Hmm.
if your overhead is more than your income, then guess what you are? You're upside down.
Yep.
So that's why she knows her bottom line. She said her bottom line or her break even number as far as a cents per mile is $2.20 a mile. Because she knows after all of her expenses are paid, in order for her to generate a certain revenue or certain income that's going to exceed her expenses, that truck has to move at least at $2.20 a mile. Now, that's where you guys, as dispatchers, need to have that understanding as well. If you decide you want to add the extra service of helping your carrier with their books and with the invoicing and all that other stuff, you have to understand those concepts. Otherwise, you just stick to your basic premise, which is just finding loads for them and getting paid for that, right? Which is literally what you come into this training for specifically. We just kind of went off on a little tangent here in case you decide to do this, right? These are some of the things you need to know. And you need to educate them on keeping and also how their business is structured, LLCs, S corps, things like that, and keeping receipts, writing things off because your company. I'm assuming Angie does this. Whatever you purchase that's trucking related, your company related, you get to, keep the receipts, scan them or whatever because receipts fade, so you get to write that stuff off, which lowers your expenses,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
then your income, so makes your revenue, makes your profit, your what's called your bottom line a little bit higher, right?
Yes.
So
That's true.
So the reason why I'm saying it like that because we have someone here today who's actually doing it like right now in real time. Angie and her family, the trucking company, the carrier, and she's dispatching for her son, who's the truck driver, Eric. So, who I've met in person. So, yeah, I
Yeah.
think twice, right? Twice.
Yes, twice. We
So,
twice. Yes, that's how we very serious. And like I said, what he teaches, what he give you knowledge and be able to network and show you, it has worked for us. We took what he gave us. It took us some time, but we running with it now. We got the understanding because I came in here, my whole family, we came in here new to it, blind, very blind. But we met them, got some input, knowledge, and took the class. And like I said, we still here. I don't think I would ever leave the class because there's so much stuff going on that and constantly changes. I couldn't keep up with it without some of these classes or hearing about it and then doing my research. And if I have to ask Charles, trust me, he responds, gives me what I need. Hey, I know this person you could talk to. I know that person.
right.
Very, very knowledgeable, very, very helpful. I couldn't had any other better mentor, teacher, or anything. So for us, it's been very beautiful. We have grown. Well, technically, I'm gonna let you know, Charles, even though I'm doing this now, I'm studying me and my baby girl that you met, the one that is a carrier. We are studying for our CDLs. So we about to expand and drive.
Uh-oh, what in the world? So
Yes.
now your family's going to be a fleet.
Yeah. Yep. He gonna have 2 more drivers. So it'll be a total of 3 of them.
So you're keeping it in the house. That's a
Yes.
good thing.
Yes. Yes. So I'm eventually, I have not quit my job, but I still work remote with my job, but I have not quit. But once I get my CDLs and I go out here and get my experience, and like I'm taking over his truck and he'll get a new truck. So we about to do this. We going full throttle.
There you go. So the transportation industry, there's several ways to make income in the transportation industry. And this is an entry point as a dispatcher, that probably the easiest entry point from a financial perspective, coming into the dispatcher and then deciding based on your experience doing dispatching, which direction or which trajectory you want to go in. You want to go in as a carrier, you want to be a broker, you want to get into warehousing, intermodal, whatever mode you want to get into. Also, air freight, oil fields, rail, ocean. So there's so many things to look at in this ecosystem we call logistics that I don't know. It's just so much going on. So, but I'm glad that's news to me. Congratulations! I definitely need to come to Ohio now. Once you guys melt down from that 17 feet of snow, I'll come to.
Right. Yeah, we're gonna definitely come and see you. I mean, like I said, it was just something that we all made a decision. And I'm like, well, I got enough time. I mean, I've been good, my money good. I can do this. It just to,
Yeah.
help my son and help, grow the company and all that. So my daughter, my youngest one that you met, she was like, Mama, I'm coming with you too. We about to do this. So she made the decision. So I was like, okay. So eventually we're gonna be out there.
And the beauty of that is you have Eric as a test use case for you guys and as a guide because he can pretty much show you the process of what he's doing from a driving and a trucking perspective.
Yes. Yes, because when I get a chance, he comes in, he just had a load, what was it, yesterday? And he went, I think, where did he go? It wasn't far, about 200 miles from here. He had to go pick up an empty trailer. He said, Mom, this is some easy money. If they had 3, 4 of them, I would have did it all day. They had 2, but the timing that they needed. He just moved an empty trailer for $700.
Look at that. So you guys, your family is the personification of the term generational wealth. You're moving in that direction because it's you, it's your son and daughter. That's one generation. Then it's you, the next generation. Then it's your parents, the other generation. So it's generational wealth, 3 generations, right? So that's beautiful. I love that. So, LaDonna said, "Can I get $5, Angie?"
You're more than welcome to fight. I got $5.
Hey,
So,
Charles, how you doing?
but yeah, I like that. I like that. So,
Hey, Charles, how you
yes.
doing? It's Eric.
Hey, what's up, man?
How you doing? I'm
So
good, man.
this
How are
is
you? How
this
are
is
you?
this is Angie's son, the driver, Eric. What's going on, man? How's it going?
I'm hanging in there each and every day,
Yeah.
trying.
We were just talking, we were giving good accolades for you, and you have your power only, you still doing your thing.
Yeah,
Uh
I'm trying.
yep, finding good loads. Your mom is doing her dispatching
Yeah,
duties
she
for
does help me
you.
out. She does
Yep,
help me time to time. Yeah.
that's very good. That's very good. I'm glad you and I'm glad to hear that the family is moving in the direction of scaling. Like your sister and your mom's getting ready to get their CDLs and get ready to jump in the truck. And
Yeah, and I'm nervous for them. I'm not gonna
just
lie. Not gonna lie.
just do a try to do a couple of team loads so you can be in there with them just to kind of guide them.
Oh, they've been with me a couple times, just showing them the ropes a little bit and just seeing how things go. So
Yeah.
they've seen they got a little taste of it. So
Right, but this time on the on let them be in the driver's seat when
Yeah,
they once they
well,
get
yeah,
that seat.
that's coming
listen,
soon.
that's coming soon when we get them licenses. But he telling a tale on that one because when he got ready to drop the trailer, unhook the brakes and the airlines, and he killed us. Put your back. Don't do it. That hurt your back. You got to drop that. I was
Right. So what
the
he's doing
landing
is
gear.
when you couple and uncouple, there's certain techniques you got to do.
Yeah.
Well, there's people have their different styles, but the
Yeah.
safest way, that's what he's probably trying to tell you.
Right, yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
he was killing us on that, but we got better. He said, "Well, watch you gonna hurt you. You gonna hurt your arm doing that. I don't do that way." So we've been getting our lessons going out on the road with him on the weekend. So he tried to come in every weekend so we can, you know, go out on the road. Been practicing driving in an empty parking lot, maneuvering the trailer. So we gonna have a heads up when we get ready to go to school.
And now right here too, let me show you this as well. So from a dispatcher's perspective, when you're looking for, let's say you guys who are new dispatchers in here who are listening in on it, on this call, either in the Zoom or on the YouTube channel when it's going to be potentially be on the YouTube channel, this um power only. If you get a carrier with a power only, how do you find a load for a carrier with a power only on a load board, right? So I've opened up one of our load boards, which is Next Load, right? Uh, and we are at the, can you guys see this? Did I share my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so this is Next Load. We're at the dashboard of the load board, well, the beginning place. And this is a live load board. If you notice, it says found 32,077 loads. Well, let's keep that same theme and say, okay, we got a power only carrier. I'm a new dispatcher. I'm an independent dispatcher. Right now, I'm going to start off trying to get paid only dispatching until I can graduate up to helping them with their other stuff, with invoicing and their books and their expenses and stuff. But let me just try to learn my basic premise of what I'm here for, which is dispatching. Okay, and I got a power only. I convinced that person to allow me to help them make money and feed their family, right? Their bottom line. They said they wanted 5 to 7 grand a week. Not bad for a power only list, and they're in the Midwest. Okay, let's say they're in uh, Indiana or Kentucky or even Michigan, or we're coming to Eric's and Angie State, Ohio, right? So Midwest is not bad. Midwest is actually the number one zone for the top three equipment types: dry van, flatbed, and reefer. But power only can be in that category uh, marginally as well. So here we are, right here: origin, destination, radiuses, equipment weight, pickup date. And then you have where it says more search options. I'm going to click that, drop it down for more options. And I'm going to leave that open. For those of you who are looking at the load board for a first time, for the very first time, and want clarity on what the purpose of the load board is, this is primarily for new dispatchers who have carriers but don't have direct customers. This is primarily the place that you would go to try to find loads for your carrier to keep their truck loaded according to their requirements, their equipment type, so on and so forth. Primarily with talking to freight brokers. Load boards are posted mainly by the freight brokers. It's rare. You sometimes you get cases where shippers do it too, but it's rare that you'll see shippers posting loads on load boards. Posted loads on load boards is what's called spot market freight, the spot market, right? And then the other freight, the type of freight is called, those are contract type of freight, contract rates, contract freight, because they're coming directly from customers, directly from the shippers. But right here on the load boards, this is spot market loads. So they're going to be a little bit lower, not significantly low, but a little bit lower than the contract rates, primarily because with contract rates, brokers are not involved in that at all. It's between directly the shipper and the carrier. But the spot rates are the shipper to the broker, and then the broker take their percentage off and then pass the rest on to the carrier. So the broker is in the middle of that process. That is primarily the major difference between contract and spot market. Okay. Hopefully everybody understood that. If I need to re-explain it a little bit detailed, I can. But that's the difference. You as a new dispatcher, you're mainly going to be on the load boards looking for loads. So this load board, and before I begin, are there any questions to this point? Anything that needs to be cleared? Any questions anything that I said that you didn't understand, you wanted some clarity on? I want to make sure I don't leave anyone behind in that regard. Okay. All right. So good. There's no questions. All right. So on the load board, origin, and I'm gonna give you other names for this too, because you will see it on different load boards mentioned with different terms, but they mean the same thing. They're synonymous, if you will. So origin, it'll say pickup location, right? Or to say pickup. It'll say shipper, right? Or it'll say consignor. Okay, it'll say that as well. Okay, right, Angie? Have you seen on load boards different words that mean pretty much the same thing?
Yes.
Okay, so origin, pickup location or pickup, shipper or consignor, consignor. That is the pickup. That's the shipper location. That's where loads are picked up by your driver that you're dispatching for, by your carrier, the owner operator that you have under contract. All loads are always picked up from the shippers because shippers are always shipping out freight, right? That's how it makes it easier for you guys to remember. The shipper ships out, the receivers receive, or they have it delivered, which leads into this. So you got origin, now you have destination. Destination is also, you got receiver, delivery location, destination, like right here, and then the other word, consignee, consignee. So the difference between consignor and consignee are the last two letters, the OR in consignor and the EE in consignee, right? So the consignee receives it, or the receiving facility. You got the shipping facility over here at origin that ships out the freight. You have the receiving or destination facility. The receiver receives the freight that gets delivered to them, right? So we're good on that, right? Radius is, let's say radius from the origin. When you're searching for a load, you say, okay, let's put something in here. Detroit, where I'm from. All right, I'm a little biased, but Detroit, where I'm from. When you're saying Detroit in the origin, you're saying, I want to grab a load coming out of the Detroit area and also a shipper coming out of the Detroit area and within a certain number of miles surrounding that area. Now, the going standard is 100 miles, right? Now, no person's going to drive 150 or 200 miles unless they're paying extra money for that, like a fuel surcharge or adding more to the rate, right? 2 or 4 years ago, it used to be 200 miles because they were paying crazy. But right now, that's not the case. So what this says right here, origin and 200-mile radius, it's saying, and I'll give you a visual of that so we can kind of bring home the point. What it's saying is, bring up the whiteboard. The wrong whiteboard, but that's okay. It's saying Detroit, right? You guys see me writing on the whiteboard?
Yes.
Detroit, Michigan I'm looking for a shipper out of Detroit, Michigan, and within a 150-mile radius of Detroit. So here's Detroit right here. So any shippers from Detroit and within that radius. That's what that says in that first box in that load board we were looking at. So any shippers out of that location. So Detroit and within a 150-mile radius. All right. So I want to make sure you guys get what that means, right? So let's go back to the share screen. So that's that. So any shippers that's Detroit based or within 150 miles. So that could be, within 100 miles. So that could be somewhere in Ohio because Detroit is only like 50 miles, 49 miles from Toledo, north. So it could be there. It could be, heck, it could be over towards Chicago, down towards, well, I don't want to say, a little bit towards Indiana, maybe Gary or Hammond, things like that, but not in Indianapolis. Indianapolis is a little bit further. That's I-70 West. You can go further south in Ohio, 75 south, going down towards Columbus, maybe Columbus. If you're Detroit, you may have to be a little bit, maybe Sydney, Findlay, things like that. So I'm a dispatcher, I say, and I got a carrier who's based in Detroit. He's a power only, and he did that. Now notice this also. Remember, this is a live load. Remember when I first said it said found 32,000 some odd loads? Now when I put Detroit and 100-mile radius, it jumped to or decreased to 474. But you still don't have an equipment type. It said all loads come down Detroit within 100 miles. Any equipment type, there's 474 loads. Right? Now let's put our equipment type. What did we say we were? We were power only, right? So if I slide down to power only, guess what's going to happen to that 474? It doesn't have any. Look at that. There's no loads for power only coming out of Detroit within a 100-mile radius. Let's increase that to 200 miles and see. Well, 205, but 200. Okay, there's 4 loads. So I widened my net. In other words, I increased my radius, Detroit and 200 miles out, just to see if I could find a shipper for a power only. So what does that tell you right there? That's a good point we want to make there. If you got to increase your radius in that area for a power only, that means that there must not be a lot of power only loads coming out of that area. Look at the look on Angie's face. She's like, yep.
Yep, I was shaking my head.
Right. If I gotta say Detroit and 200 miles out, there must not be a lot of power only loads. So let's find another area then. Let's go down a little further south in that. Let's say Cincinnati. Ohio, still staying in the Midwest, and let's say 100-mile radius. And see what we get for power only. Okay. So a little bit further south in the Midwest from Detroit down in Ohio, you pick up some loads. You got 4 loads here. So it looks like going further south, let's come over to my area. Let's go to Norfolk, Virginia, and 100-mile radius. 2. So I got to find that sweet spot. Looks like the Midwest is still the sweet spot, but it looks like the south part of the Midwest is a sweet spot. So Cincinnati and maybe Louisville or somewhere like that. But Cincinnati, I'm going to type in Cincinnati again and get 150-mile radius or 100-mile radius for power only. But that's, as a dispatcher, that's what you got to do. You got to play with that, right? To kind of gauge where your particular carrier's equipment type can find freight out of. This is what we're doing. And the beauty of this load board is doing it in real time. There's 4 loads right now, live. Cincinnati on a Sunday, the 23rd of February, that's available coming out of the Cincinnati area within a 100-mile radius for a power only, going anywhere. You see where it says destination anywhere? You leave that blank, is anywhere. Now, the more specific you put, if you put something in here going to a specific city, then it may say 0 because you don't know if that load's available in that specific city. But if you leave it blank anywhere, now you can kind of gauge and feel based off of these results where you want to send your guy to, Right here, this one that says Troy, the second one down, Troy to Troy, that looks like it's a round trip. It's 10,000 pounds. It's probably a container. And you're grabbing some. Let's open that up just to look at it. So it's going, it's around, like, see what I said? What did I just say? Round trip, right? There it is right there, round trip. So going from Ohio to North Carolina and then back. So they're probably taking some freight down there, doing a either a live unload or snatching, dropping the loaded trailer off and grabbing it empty and coming back to Ohio. That's what this could be right here, a possibility. And you would reference that when you call at extension 605, you will call and give the reference number 652-623 and talk to the dispatcher, Matt Souter, at the company, BBI Logistics, and you'll inquire about that. Well, you'll ask those types of questions. You'll fill in those blanks because that's what dispatchers do. You want to know what's going on with that load. It's a round trip, but we're hauling a 53-foot trailer. It's 10,000 pounds, so it's pretty light. You're not going to kill you on fuel. Right, but you want to know. So it either has to be an empty or a light load. You're either going down there with an empty and you're snatching the preloaded trailer coming back, right, and then letting that shipping facility offload that freight and do the same thing again over and over again. But they're saying 66 miles. So, but it's going from Ohio to North Carolina. Ohio to North Carolina is nowhere near 66 miles. So that's a deceptive post right there. See that catch? I'm sorry, I apologize. That's the deadhead from Cincinnati to Troy, Ohio. That's 66 miles. Let me go back. So the 66 miles deadhead from our origin, which is Cincinnati, north, I-75 north, up to Troy, Ohio. 66 miles from Cincinnati to Troy, Ohio. Okay, so I apologize. I want to make sure I want to give misinformation. So the distance, the actual distance, it doesn't list it right here. The distance, it doesn't show it. But so any blank fillers you need, guess what you're gonna have to do as a dispatcher? You're gonna have to ask that broker to fill in those blanks. Hey, Matt over at BBI Logistics, how many miles is that? Or ask him what's the zip to zip? What's the zip code to zip code? That's literally what you can get the miles from. You look up the zip code from the pickup facility in Troy, Ohio, and get the zip code to the delivery facility in wherever city in North Carolina, because they did not disclose that. So you got to get more information because you don't know where it could be North Carolina going down to the most southern point, like in Charlotte, heading to South Carolina, or it could be North Carolina on the northeastern tip of North Carolina, which is like Elizabeth City, North Carolina. So you don't know that. So you would get that question, ask how many miles it is, because your driver needs to know, right? Is this something that your driver does not need to know? You want to share that with your driver so that they can know, so they can decide if they want to take the load, even though it is 10,000. The weight is 10,000 pounds. These are some things you want to fill in the blank. So you'll call that broker and ask those types of questions. Now we have some fill in the blank type of templates, like our load details cheat sheet and things like that, right? Is it recommended to stay around a specific number for deadhead miles when it comes to finding? Yes. And guess who tells you that, Shiante? Your carrier. When you're filling out when they're filling out
Carrier profile.
the carrier profile. There you go. Thank you, Vancia. Yes. And welcome to Freight Broker 101, by the way, Vancia.
Thank you.
Join our Freight Broker course. So in the forms and documents, the carrier profile is the way that the carrier tells you what their mileage is, how far they want to go, things like that, deadhead miles. Now it may not be on this, but you can add that. Remember, this is a template. So you can add that line item to the profile for your carrier to tell you, hey, what is your deadhead limit? And they'll tell you, well, I don't want to go no more than 75 miles deadhead for a pickup location, or for my drop off to my next load. I don't want to have the deadhead too far because I don't want to burn too much fuel empty. I want to grab freight to maximize my trailer capacity to make money. And that makes sense. You think about it from
Can I say something?
Yes.
Although that is a good idea, I think not. because it'll limit our search abilities. We're gonna run that lane information across the driver anyway and let them know each load what the deadhead is. I just don't want to limit the search by adding that to the carrier profile.
So then that's a great point. So if you expand your search to find them below, just be sure to disclose that to the carrier. Hey, I know you said, Mr. or Miss Carrier, that you only want a deadhead 100 miles for your loads, but I found a good paying load and it's 150 miles and it pays an extra 2,500 on top of what it was going to normally pay for that lane.
Yeah.
Are you interested in driving an extra 50 miles to get an extra $1,500? Guess what they're going to say? Yes. Right?
I generally will do because I negotiate my percentage on top of what the lane is, what the rate is for the lane. So I generally search. I don't do my searches past
So wait a
150.
minute. So wait a minute.
That's
You just
like a
said.
standard.
So wait a minute. You just said something that maybe a new dispatcher maybe don't understand. So you said you put your percentage on. So what does that mean, Vancia? Educate us, right? Um, so, and I'm gonna give a load. I'm gonna give a load for you as an example. Um, let's say let's find a load that's and let's change this to a drive-in, something so we can see some numbers. So you said you put your percentage on top of the load and then go from there. So you're doing the negotiation piece. So let's see a drive-in coming out of Cincinnati with a 100-mile deadhead going anywhere. Uh, let's say your carrier said on their profile that they'll move from any weight to for a drive-in is 45,000 pounds. Let's say they don't want to move, they don't want to haul no more than 38,000. Okay.
Hmm.
So now it's 282 loads right here, right? And let's say that they only want truckloads. They don't want no partials. So we're going to check full truckload and not partials, LTLs, right?
Hmm.
And on this load board, you only want to see all the rates that are provided. You don't want to see anyone that don't have any rates posted. So to do that, you check this box. Check the box rate
Hmm.
provided. So it's going to only give the rates that are provided. So that kind of removes the mystery of what the broker is paying, right?
Hmm.
So now you see a list of 44 loads for a drive-in coming out of Cincinnati with a 100-mile radius going anywhere, 38,000 pounds, and all these other specifications, right? So I'm gonna shrink that box a little bit, go back. So now we see all these numbers. So now what I do is the first thing I do on a load board, if it allows you to,
Sort them.
put
Sort
them
them.
put them in order, right? I put them in order. So highest to lowest, or now it puts it in order from highest to lowest cents per mile or highest to lowest dollar value, right? So you can see the numbers. So, but these right here, these are cents per mile, right? So like this one's 281 from Lexington, which is 71 miles down to Jacksonville, Florida, only 15,000 pounds. Coyote, 668 miles drive. So this distance, 668 miles, doesn't include the deadhead. The deadhead is 71. We were in Cincinnati. So we had to drive south 71 miles to Lexington to grab the load. So that's where the 71 miles came from. And then from the pickup location in Lexington, Kentucky, the shipper, we had to drive to Jacksonville, Florida, which is 668 miles. Those where the two numbers are. Those are the two numbers explained, right? This
Hmm.
first number, DH, is deadhead, right? And then this is the actual distance from the pickup to the delivery, not any deadhead. That's when it says distance, that's what that means. From the shipper to the receiver. No deadhead. The deadhead is right here, which is from your carrier's 20, their position, Cincinnati, to a pickup location, Lexington, Kentucky, a shipper, right? Everybody understands that. Just want to make sure. That's the difference between those two numbers right there as far as distance is concerned, miles is concerned. Okay. And then you got the equipment is a drive-in. You got the weight of the loaded trailer, 15,800 pounds. You have the rate, what it's paying to the truck, $1,878, which is converted to cents per mile, is $2.81. They're getting the 281 not from including the deadhead in the distance, but only including the distance. So they divided 668 into 1878 and got 281. Right? Somebody do that and tell me and let me know if that's true. 1878 divided by 668. So the cents or the dollar or the pay, the rate divided by the distance is where the cents per mile came from, the 281. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So what we usually do, to get a true cents per mile, I would include the deadhead. I would add the deadhead, 71 miles, to the 668, and then divide that answer into the 878, and it'll give you something a little bit lower, maybe 260 something a mile or whatever that is, right? Someone do that. Someone say 71 miles deadhead, because my driver has to drive. He's not picking up literally in Lexington. He's in Cincinnati, right? So he has to drive 71 miles. He's burning fuel.
That's a total of 739.
Right.
739 miles.
So now you take 739 and divide it into the 1878. And that'll give you like 254 or something like that. Yep, $2.54, which is not, that's still not bad for a dry van for that weight, right? What's the only problem for those of you who have been dispatching for a minute? What's the only problem with this lane, with this load?
The destination.
The destination.
Not coming up out of there.
Why is that? Because Florida, right? Going into Florida. But it's kind of it's a problem, but it's a good problem because it's only going to Jacksonville. And Jacksonville is at the northeastern tip of the state of Florida. They're not going down to Orlando, Tampa, or even as far as Miami. They're only going to the north. Let's show it on the map. They're only going to the northern tip of that right there. That's the northern tip of Florida. So they can deadhead even into Georgia and snatch something up. There's a little small
That's what they're gonna have to do.
Right. In Georgia, there's a distribution, there's a plethora of distribution centers in a small town in Georgia, right north of Jacksonville, called Tifton. Right? And you got distributions there, centers all day. You can grab something.
There's two things that generally you can move up out of Florida, and that's water and them U-Haul boxes.
Correct. So and one of the largest water companies down there is Nestle. You can snatch Nestle water. You probably can grab Deer Park, because Deer Park, Florida. Where do you think it comes from? Deer Park, Florida. And then Nestle. But as new dispatchers, you wouldn't know that until you get the experience talking to a broker, and the broker is sending you to those areas, right? So over time, if I were you, as you talk to each and every broker, I would have a notebook in front of me, and little things they say, I would jot down and then go back and research it. And when they send you a rate confirmation of a load that you've gotten from them, that's another way to educate yourself and make yourself a little bit more versed. Jay said, should we ask the broker if they have backhaul coming out of Jacksonville, or should we check the loads coming out of there before we book? Check the load if you haven't called them. Right, both. But I'm gonna give you the order. If you haven't called the broker, then check the loads coming out of there on the load boards and elsewhere. And then number two, if you do call them, of course, the first thing you want to do is with that initial broker that you're booking that load for your carrier with. Yeah, hey man, do you have any reloads? Or we say reloads, and we also say backhauls. Any loads coming out of there? And they're either gonna say yes or no. Right? If they do, that's great, because why? You're already set up with that broker. Right?
Okay, can we explain the difference between a backhaul and a reload, please?
They're pretty much almost the same thing. A reload they're both loads, they're both freight, they're both another shipment coming. The backhaul in most cases, a true backhaul is going back literally to the original, or close to the original origin, the original shipper back in Lexington. A reload is a load coming out of Jacksonville, but can be going
somewhere else.
Somewhere else, right? right? And most brokers they're more susceptible to have reloads than they are backhauls, right? They're more because they may have customers, because most brokers, if they're smart, they'll have customers. Now, this is how, as a smart freight broker, you're going to learn this, Vancia, in the class. As a smart freight broker, I would love to have a customer in Kentucky sending me freight down to a customer in Jacksonville, coming back out of Jacksonville, going somewhere else, and another customer in that other destination going maybe back towards Lexington. So now I got all my points covered as a freight broker. I got a customer in Lexington.
Exactly.
I got a customer in Lexington. I'm sending a dry van, 15,800 pound load down to Jacksonville to my customer in Jacksonville, right? Who's the
Hmm.
receiver, but they have a shipper, because most facilities they may have 100,000 square foot building, right? And you have most of them have a shipping division and a receiving division. When you first come into the campus, you'll see signs. Oh, shipping turn left, receiving turn right. As you pull in, if you're a truck driver, you know what I'm talking about, right? When you go to deliver something or pick up something, you'll say, well, where's the pickup? You'll go to the security gate. Okay, well, the pickup location, the shipping location is go down to the stop sign, make the left at the sign. You'll see it says shipping on the left, receiving on the right, right? So if I'm a broker, if I have a customer like that, then I want to work with them both ways. I want to get.
But
Go ahead.
the reason I wanted to stop you right there, because the reason why I said distinguish between the two is because some brokers, you get what you ask for. So if you open to both, you want to ask not just for a back haul, because they'll just say, no, we don't have no back haul. They don't think that far ahead and say, well, wait a minute, I do got something in the area that's going such and such place. Like you said, that's something I learned in broker class, and that's how I do my thinking, because I don't even book a load unless I can get my carrier back on the road.
Right. Number one
So
and
I
number
would do the
two
same thing with the shipper.
and number two, you you want to get into the habit of sending your carriers into locations where there's a high volume of inbound and outbound freight. So
Mhm.
that way your chances of getting a reload or even a backhaul increases, because you're sending them into different areas of the country or different zones like the Midwest, Southeast, or Texas,
Mhm.
where they can get something coming out of there, as opposed to sending them to an area what's what we call dead freight zones or a dead freight state, like I don't know, a Des Moines, or Boise, Idaho, or Fargo, North Dakota, or something like that, right? For anything over there, right? It's now there's freight coming out of there, but it's not as much, right? I mean, because there's people living there, so there's habitation, there's humanity over there, but there's not a lot of movement of freight in that area, as opposed to the Midwest or the Southeast. Like if I'm in Virginia, DC, the DMV area, North, South Carolina, Georgia, things are happening all because that's the East Coast. You got the ports. There's so much movement over here. It's pathetic, right? It's just that the rates are down right now because you got, issues with tariffs and trade wars, Trump administration squeezing everybody. But that's going to change too. That's going to turn around. You just got to sometimes as dispatchers, we have ebbs and flows. We have to abide by the tide and wait our turn and ride that wave, that storm, until
Like
it turns around.
ever changing environment.
Right. It goes up and down, and it's seasonal in most cases too. There's things
Hmm.
that are seasonal. Try to like stay connected with the seasons of different types of what we call commodities, different types of freight, different types of goods. If you get used to dispatching according to the season, and you got carriers who move certain commodities that move in the season, then you like for example, like lawn and gardening. You got mulch, right, with flatbeds that'll pick up in certain areas and go to other areas. That's coming in the season. The spring is coming around the corner, so things are being uh, used to plant goods, farmlands, and things like that. So you gotta understand how that works, the behavior of the seasons when it comes to certain type of commodity. Get with farmers, right? I'm talking to you, Vancine, as a broker. You want to get in relationships with farmers when they need to ship their products and things are being harvested and they need to be shipped to the store so they can make their money. They spent all this time planting the seeds, growing it, nurturing it, watering it. Now it's time to harvest the goods and load them up on trucks to be sent to the manufacturers and distribution centers. So that's in farming, right? So get with farmers, corn, wheat, things like that. So, and then as a dispatcher, you can get in that equation too by dispatching those trucks who need to deliver to those locations, right? So
Yep. It's a win-win.
it is a win-win. So, but back to this load board, yeah. Be mindful when you're let's call Coyote, right? We'll call Coyote. Let's say your driver wanted this load, right? They wanted this load. Now, Vancia made a good point as far as her percentage. This is a dispatching class. If you can either charge a percentage or a flat fee for your service of finding this load for your driver. Whatever this load is, it could be general freight, it could be whatever it is, only 15,000 pounds. So let's say it's a stack of pallets or whatever it is, right? At this point, the freight is irrelevant. But let's say it paid 18. Let's say you're a new dispatcher, so I'll say no more than 7%, maybe 8. So when you call the broker, and these numbers you need to have figured out before you get on the phone with the broker. You need to figure your numbers out first. So let's say you charge 8% for every load you dispatch. So this lane says it's 1878. So the first thing you would do is what? You would take what the load is paying, in this case, 1878, right? Let me share my screen with the calculator so you can see what I'm doing. All right, can everybody see my calculator? You good?
Yes.
Yes.
1878 in this example, this Lexington to Jacksonville drive-in freight load for Coyote. 1878, let's say you charged 8%. So you take what the load is being paid to the truck times the 8%, and that equals $150.24. So if you were to book this load with Coyote for your driver as a dispatcher, this is what you're going to get paid, $150.24, because that is 8% of what the driver is getting paid by the broker. Does everybody understand that piece? Is there anyone who does not understand what I just did? Okay. So now you take that 150 and you add it back to what? The original amount, 1878. And that gives you $2,028.24. We have a word for this that we call, this is our threshold.
Threshold.
Because it is one, give me 1 second, guys. Hold up. Come here. So this is called our threshold, right? $2,028. Why is it called the threshold? Because it includes the 1878 that the truck gets paid by the broker, Coyote, as well as your 8% of that, which is the $150. It's also called the threshold because that's the number you cannot or you should not let the broker negotiate you below. Right? Because if you do, then somebody's losing. In most cases, it's going to be you because you want to make sure your carrier gets their money. You'll probably take more of the L than the carrier, right? So if this is the threshold, then when you call the broker and give them a number, well, they posted a number. They'll say, Coyote, they say, we got it posted for 1878. Is that something you guys can do? Well, that's a good rate, but my carrier is really looking for thus and so, right? So what's a good number? You'll say something above this threshold, 2028. Let's say 2100. I would say no more than $150 above the threshold. So let's say 150. So that's like 121.78. So let's say 2200. right? That sounds about right. If you're going to round up 2150, 2200. What do you guys think?
22 because he gonna come down to 2.
Of course he is, because why? He's a broker, right? So he's going to try to come down because now you are in the world of what's called negotiating. Now, you went up, they come down, you guys meet in the middle, right? So, welcome to deceptive negotiating. I'm trying to choose the right word for it. But so yeah, so let's say you went to 22. He said, "Well, it's posted for why do you want that much? It's posted for 1878. Why do you want 22? We could do the most we can do. The most I have in it is about 2150. So let's say they said 2150, right? Can you do 2150? Is 2150 above your threshold?
Yeah, we can do it.
Okay, because it's above your threshold. So if you say 2150, if you get it for 2150 and your threshold was 2028, well, let's say 2029, I'm gonna round up. That's a difference of $121. Now you already got your 150 because you already added your 8% on top of it already. Who
And we
should
got
get
the carrier, the additional 121.
that was my question. Who should get this extra 121? Who does that belong to? And why? It belongs to the carrier. Well, somebody said, well, wait a minute. Shouldn't I get that? You
No.
you added you got to this point by already adding your 8% on top of the 1878. So now you want to take which is $150 and 28 cents, right? Do you want to take another 121 from the carrier's pocket? You want to double dip? Guess how long you're going to last in a relationship with
I
that
was just
carrier?
gonna say, or do you want to shine so that carrier can continue to use your services?
Give this 121 to this carrier so they can pay for some fuel or pay for whatever they need to pay for this extra money. What's the expression we always use? Never step over dimes to chase pennies, right? Your
Yeah.
dime is that 150 you got and the opportunity to get more from that carrier by providing a good service as a dispatcher. That's the dime. The penny is just this one time $121. So do you want to risk that for $121, the opportunity to get more loads for this carrier? Because the carrier is going to see what you're doing. They follow that. You don't think a truck driver, a trucking company don't follow their money? If you got a truck driver, a trucking company that don't follow their money, guess how long they're going to be a truck driving trucking company? Not very long. Why would I get into the business if I don't follow my own money? Then I'm losing, right? So they're going to discover that maybe after you may get away with it the first time, maybe even the second time, but the third time they were like, wait a minute, why are you always getting this extra money that's left over? Don't you put yours on top when you negotiate with the broker? That part they're going to ask that type of question to you one day, and you got to come up with an answer. Well, I felt since I this could be an answer you possibly get to them. Well, I felt since I dispatched for you, and I found that extra money, I felt that it came out. I should get that as well since I you know what?
Well, then too, you don't tell the carrier what you're doing. You're gonna set yourself up for failure. Don't tell the carrier that you're negotiating your dispatching fee on top of the the lane rate, because you don't get to do that all the time.
Right.
And
So
so if
there's a
you
level. So there's transparency in dispatching, but it goes so far. I see what you're saying, Vancia, because you don't do it all the time, but you always attempt to do it.
hmm
Right. You always make the attempt to negotiate your rate because that leads into this segue. There will be a time where a broker says, "Hey, 1878, we're firm on that. We're not moving. We're not giving you 2200 or even 2150. We're firm on our rate, and here's the reason why." Now, whatever the reason is, it's an acceptable reason. Do you still want the load? Guess what you should do as a dispatcher? The first thing you should do is call your carrier and say, "Hey, King's Transportation, we got this load here from Coyote that's paying 1878. I tried to, put my rate to get my dispatching fee on the broker side, but they're firm on 1878. Are you good with taking that load still? And they're going to say yes or no. If they say yes, then you have to let them know, okay, well, you said yes, so understand I still have to get paid as a dispatcher. So my percentage is coming out of that 878. In other words, it's being deducted from the 878 and not added on top of it. Do you still want the load? So you've given them every ample opportunity to say yay or nay, because you explained to them the consequences or the circumstances if you decide to take it, or if you decide to say no, let's
Right.
try to find another load. Let's try to find another load. That's not a good load because I'm losing money once I pay you. I'm not making my bottom line or my break even cents per mile.
So Charles,
And that's fine. Go ahead, Lawal.
so quick question. So in that first instance, this first scenario you were describing, you added your percentage and you still have $120. How do you explain? Because my understanding is the 8% comes from your from what the load pays for, right?
Right. So the load pays. So you charge at the dispatch fee 8%. You found this load right here, 1878. So when you call, before you call the broker, you want to do your numbers, right? To give them the above threshold number. And we came up with, let's bring that calculator back up and share that screen. Okay. So the load started at 1878. That's what the broker posted. Coyote posted that they were going to pay to the truck for this dry van load from Lexington, Kentucky to Jacksonville, Florida, right? So you say okay, and your driver says, "Yeah, I'm interested in that load. Let's see if we can book that load." He said, "Okay." You say, "Okay," as a dispatcher, "Yeah, I'm gonna book a load. I'm gonna put my 8% on top of it, and then see if we can get that load for you at that 1878, or maybe possibly even more, because once I put my rate on top of it, there's going to be monies left over, and that's going to go to you always as a carrier. I just need to make sure I get my 8% of the original posted rate of the load, which is the 1878, the original posted rate. I don't try to get extra money on what my 8% produced. I don't take 8% of that, because now I'm double dipping.
Okay.
You see?
I understand. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Right. And that's something you should never do, because again, the carrier will discover that and you guys will no longer have a relationship.
So that's a discussion you want to have before you even start your negotiation with the broker, right?
Well, the only discussion you have with the broker is when they ask, they'll say, "Hey man, this load is posted at Coyote." Will say, "Hey, we got it posted at 1878. Is that good enough for you guys?" Well, my driver's looking for about 2200. And leave it right there and see what they say. Well, we can't do 2200. We don't have that much in it. That's well above the 1878. That's like about $322 above that extra $322. Can you do we can come down a little bit. Can you come down a little bit? Kind of meet me in the middle. Can you do 2150? And you'll say, sure, 2150 is fine. Let me let my driver know first. Before you say sure, have the conversation with your driver so that the driver is sure. Again, never make a decision for your driver without your driver knowing and you discussing it with the driver and the driver approves it. Don't approve a decision for your driver. Let the driver approve it. Always, always, always. Okay? Keep that in mind. That's another way to not have a relationship with the driver as well. Making decisions for them and their trucking. You are just an independent dispatcher. It's not your trucking company. So the ultimate decision is not yours. It's your driver's. All right. I just want to bring home that point. Okay. So never get into that position. Even you could be the best dispatcher in the world, still have that conversation with the driver. Because guess who's driving and picking up that load? It's not the dispatcher, it's the driver.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
You never want to put yourself in a precarious situation where you accepted a load without your driver knowing the load, right? That's the worst. Well, one of the worst things you can do as a dispatcher. That's a mistake that you would have to correct.
Mm-hmm.
So,
thank you.
And you can mess up your relationship with the broker too if you accept a load and you didn't discuss it with your driver and your driver don't want to do it.
right.
And now you got the
Right, because your driver will circle back and say, "Hey, man, you took this load without discuss. I don't want this load. You got to cancel that, man. Try to find me something else, or we can't work together. So now you got to circle back to Coyote Logistics or whoever that broker was and say, hey, man, I apologize for calling you. Even though we said we accepted the load, you saying we, but it was actually you, but you trying to clean it up. So you say, even though we didn't accept this, we took the load. The driver wants to cancel it. What? Wait a minute. You just took the load. I sent you the rate confirmation and everything. Well, we didn't sign it and send it back to you. So technically, we're not responsible for the loads. Even though that's true, it still will make the broker upset, and they may even add you to what's called the D as in Delta, N as in Nancy, U as in USA list, the do not use list, right? But that's only broker wide. So if you get added to a DNU list for Coyote, that means you can't do Coyote loads. You find a load on a next load on a load board, and it's a Coyote load, they're not gonna let you run it because you're blacklisted for Coyote. Now, if they put you on carrier 411 or do freight guard, now that's a different issue. That's more a global thing. Everybody sees that you have a habit of dropping loads at the last minute and inconveniencing everybody, or your driver does, you and your driver. So then you looked at as a parasite. So, right, you got a scarlet letter, So be careful with that. Make sure just do it the right way. Make sure you communicate with the broker, and namely, primarily communicate with you and your driver, and then secondarily between you and the broker. And then mesh the two together, your driver and your broker, through the communication channels, right? And again, we discuss this all the time. So you shouldn't mess this up. If you listen to these recordings and our conversations and our examples, I always bring home the point, and I always repeat it. Never book a load for your driver without your driver knowing, because it's important. They need to know that. Let's say your driver is under load. You didn't know this, unbeknownst to you, because your driver didn't tell you. He has a load on his trailer, but you booked this load that picks up Monday. This Coyote load going from Lexington, Kentucky to Jacksonville, Florida. But your driver say, hey, man, I'm under a load right now, and they don't deliver till like Tuesday afternoon. How are we going to make this work? He's already loaded, right? Well, one of the ways you can do it, if you and your driver decide to continue with that relationship, is to call the broker and see if they can get that shipper to push that load to Tuesday or maybe even Wednesday. Because again, if your driver loaded trailer delivers on Tuesday afternoon, it's still going to take them time to offload it, depending on how long they got to wait at the facility to deliver it, how slow the facility is offloading it, detention, all this other stuff. And then they got to figure out drive time from that delivery to your pickup location, the load that you booked erroneously. There are several factors involved in that, right? So you got to be mindful of those things. So instead of pushing it to Tuesday, you might want to even push it to Wednesday. And the driver's hours. There are hours of service. They may have to get on the road, deadhead another 7,500 miles to your location from the location they just delivered to. So there's several things as a dispatcher you have to put in place, right, Angie, in order to understand how this works. So, but it's important. And you'll put it together as you dispatch for your trucks over and over again, and it becomes repetitive. You will pick up on a system. You'll have a system for your guy, especially if it's a specific equipment type, specific commodities that you're moving, and specific locations you're picking up from and delivering to. You'll pick up on a system, and you'll be able to automate that over time. Right now, you need to understand the smaller pieces of the puzzle before you put the jigsaw puzzle together. The equipment type, where the loads are picking up at, how to talk to the brokers, how to negotiate your rates, put your numbers on it, put everything together, and to do your first booking of your first load or your first shipment. You want to get to that first step, that first process first. Okay? Any questions here? Make sure I get you guys. We all good? Let me go back to the load board and add that to the screen. Go from here. right? All right, like I said, I wouldn't keep you guys too long. An hour and a half should be good enough. I just want to make sure you guys are good. Any questions? Wise line is quiet today. You good? You don't have any questions? I will make sure you're definitely good. All right. And everybody else hear me? Am I audible?
Oh, yes, I said
Yeah,
I'm
we can hear
good. I'm
you.
just listening and I'm just at work. So I'm just listening in.
Oh, I'm sorry. I want to get you fired.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Yeah. All right. Hey Dante. Hey, what's up? Is that a young lady or young man that you got on your shoulders? Young man? What's up, little man? Our future dispatcher and brokers of America. I can't hear you, brother. I got you unmuted, but I don't hear the sound. And I got iPhone driving. Okay. But yeah. All right. Make sure everybody's good. This recording today will be in our portal today, later, in our training videos library right here. And our next Zoom, because we're in our second week, or our fourth week, I should say, of the month. And we got 2 days training because the Saturday training that starts March. So we won't have that on Saturday, but we'll have it on Wednesday. If you follow the calendar, right? Some people ask me, why don't you, because I used to send out emails all the time, especially to the newer students. But once you get used to navigating to the calendar, you'll see what days the trainings fall on, and you wouldn't have the need for me to send you an email. But I'll send them to the newly enrolled students for the first 2 or 3 weeks, and then everybody else should be used to the schedule, because you just go either to the calendar from the main page of the website under Dispatcher 101 Zoom calendar, or if you are a student and you have access to the portal by being a student, you can go to the Zoom training calendar schedule here, the button, and it takes you to the same location. So you have two ways of seeing the schedule, right? Of when we have it.
And then what I do is I print them out and I put each month, I print them out and I pin it on my wall.
There you
And
go.
that's how I know as well.
Or you can either do on your if you're a computer person, you
Mm-hmm.
can bookmark the page, right? Save it as a
Yep.
favorite.
Yep.
So, okay. I will see you, Vancia, Tuesday night at
Yes,
6 at the
sir.
broker. See what you got going on the broker side. Oh, by the way,
I'm excited.
I'm working on me and Darren Donald and Trayanda Towns. She's the federal person. I'm the liaison, and Darren is the broker with the assets, working on a FEMA solicitation,
Mm,
a FEMA contract
okay.
solicitation, based out
Okay.
of the Chicago market, but in the Norfolk market as well. Working on that, so we're putting our numbers together and seeing what FEMA needs, because with FEMA you got to understand what the requirements are and all these other things, and make sure you have the
Mm-hmm.
capacity. So, yeah, we're doing. But I like to keep you guys informed. We're doing next level stuff, but I always bring the information to you guys, for twofold reasons. So you understand what we're doing, and to motivate you guys and let you know and realize that there's way more in the industry, logistics, transportation, the supply chain. There's way more than just dispatching. There's brokering and all these other things. So are you still rolling out the broker? It's been delayed, yes, but it's been delayed, Dante. Are you still rolling out the broker agent program? Yes. With Ping Freight, I'm waiting on my partner to finalize his side on the Ping Freight, and we will be looking for agents. Uh, One of the requirements of that is, if you come in with some experience in a book of business, you could be eligible, and or having gone through our freight broker training, our freight broker 101 training, because that's me personally training and giving you guys the information. So, right? But a lot still going on. There's so much right now, man. So And right now I'm in my office at the car wash. People are knocking at the door, interrupting us, but that's fine. Multitasking. So it's good in some ways and bad in others. So
Better
okay,
than having the kids interrupting you every 5 minutes.
right. Jay, I'm not sure if I got that email. Can you re-email that to me if you don't mind? I saw your note here. Exodus Logistics LLC at yahoo.com. And I would definitely talk to you about some concerns you're having. All right. And I just put the email that sent it to. So if you don't mind, please send that resend that email that you because I'm usually a stickler for answering emails and getting back with people. And also my wife makes sure that I do that as well because she's on the back end, the administrative side. As a matter of fact, yeah, she will remind me. So send it to this one, TM at Exodus Dispatching and Training.com. So whenever I get like beside myself as far as busy, if you send it to her, Tasha Money, TM at Exodus Dispatching and Training.com, she will definitely, because she puts notes on my desk as I come home. She said, you need to address this or you need to address that. And that's exactly what I do. So yeah. So, as a matter of fact, send them to both. Send them to me and then make sure you send them to TM. TM is the primary and then Exodus is the secondary. All right. And we'll go from there. Okay. I appreciate you guys. Thank you. I'll have this recorded in the afternoon or later this afternoon for you. Okay. And I will see you guys on Wednesday.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
You too. Thank you.